All right, what is going on, good people? Hopefully, you guys have a great start of your week. It is Tuesday. We are bouncing back from the tornado that hit our area. As far as our house, we're in good spirits. No damage, nothing crazy happened. But there's others in our neighborhood and surrounding areas that are really struggling. Makes you put perspective on certain things. So, hopefully, everything will work out for them. If you haven't anything that's going on, man, just keep pushing. Everything's going to be all right. Just keep it one day at a time, Nevertheless, let's talk about some gaming. I found something that was very, very interesting on the internet that I was looking at while I was sitting here just, waiting to get unloaded on my truck. And it was about Saints Row, the Saints Row Studio Volition. And basically, they are finally admitting, after 2 years of the studio being shut down, they're finally saying like the game was too expensive and they tried to do too much and they need to step back and mature. I'll put the link down in the description so you can see the entire article. I thought this was really interesting because this is a really big issue for a lot of games, and more companies need to come out and say stuff like this. A lot of companies need to come out and be honest about the games that they are developing with really huge budgets, and we shouldn't have to wait till after the fact to realize like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, that maybe was an issue, that the game bombed, because not necessarily that the game was completely terrible, which some of those games are really the problem, but the game just had a huge budget and you just could not make a profit. I made a video a long time ago, probably about around this time a couple years ago, about Grand Theft Auto not being what Saints Row was. And what Saints Row was, basically a company that put a lot of money into a game. It was like, I think they said almost $200 to $300 million in this game, and I think they almost made maybe 10, maybe 15% of that back. Now you gotta understand, when a game like that is that expensive, they gotta almost triple what they make based on paying everybody, the company making a profit, make up for advertising, marketing, and everything under the umbrella. It's a lot that they have to put into making that profit back. So it's not just, if it's a $200 million game, you just made $200 million, that's okay. Nah, they gotta make somewhere up to maybe $700 million. So apparently that wasn't the case, and I think this is the I want to say this is the CEO that was a part of Volition. He basically said that the days of making these expensive games, they're over, and the business need to mature, and it doesn't take, if it doesn't, the whole business model is in trouble. Yeah, you gotta understand, like, you had to shut down this game because it was, wasn't profitable. You see what happened with Concord. That was like almost a $400 million game. You see what happened, you see what's possibly could happen to Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's not looking good right now. And many other games that's under that umbrella, this type of stuff is just not sustainable. I mean, you see it in the movie market right about now. I mean, you look at what Disney's going through, and I don't even follow the movie side of things. I'm not really into entertainment, but every time I look around, I see an article about some Disney movie not making as much money, the Marvel movies not making as much money as they used to be, the budgets are too big, they need to tone down, and I mean, that's just what they're going to have to do at some point. They're going to have to tone down what they're putting into it if they want to see a profit. And that just goes to anything that you do in life. If you want to make some money, you need to try to make it as fiscally responsible as possible. You can't just go big budget, and because you just don't know what type of return you're going to get. So, like I said earlier, I didn't want Grand Theft Auto to follow this path. Take notes from Saints Row, because as big as GTA 5 was, GTA 6 is going to make money off their name alone. But you also have to understand that these games that Grand Theft Auto make, they're really, really good because of the freedom that you have. And I'm not saying that Grand Theft Auto was a bad game, because every single one of them are absolutely awesome. But what makes people continue to play that game is the freedom that they had online. And that's what kept the game going. So don't be surprised if GTA 6 is more online based more than anything, where the online games, the offline game stuff is kind of taking a back seat. You kind of saw that with Call of Duty, you kind of seen that with the Battlefield side of things, you kind of see this with a lot of first person shooters, where you know, the money is through the online capabilities. And if you want to make a great game that's offline, you gotta make a great game that's really, really good. And Saints Row just was not able to do that. They did a lot of cultural stuff, some things that went against what Saints Row normally was. You know, they wasn't edgy and on the fringe of certain things when it comes to wow factor and shock value. They were like more on the fringe of cultural ideas, which nowadays people know that's not a selling point anymore. To be honest, I can't remember when the time when it was, but people just want good games to play where they feel like they are, you know, empowered to do great things in the game as far as things that they can't do in their real lives. I mean, that's what make a lot of games back in the day really great. A lot of people can't be a Kratos. A lot of people can't be a Tommy Vercetti. You know, a lot of people can't be a Lara Croft. You know, so they love the things that they can do in those games when it comes to that. You know, so when you are making games, you just have to realize that you have to make a good game with a good story, good mechanics, and everything under an umbrella. This is why Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar, they do a great job of putting their games out. That's why Naughty Dog was so good. You know, this is why, you know, Ubisoft at one point was great. You know, there's a lot of companies that was out here that was really great at what they do, but now you look at them, you're like, all right, what are we doing? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just think at the end of the day, what you have here is a situation with the Saints Row the Saints Row situation. I guess that's all over the place, but you know what I mean. The Saints Row situation is pretty much a story about what not to do. I mean, a lot of people saw this coming pretty much a mile away, and in 2023 they just couldn't make nothing happen and end up losing, you know, the studio. They lost a lot of money. You know, people lost their jobs, and that's just how it goes. At the end of the day, man, you just have to make good games that people like. I don't care if they're online, offline, single player, multiplayer. Hell, I will tell you this, to be honest. You can have a game that you do not own. It could be a game in the cloud that you do not own, that you can just play. And if it's a great game, people will flock to it. To be honest with you guys, people do it on mobile games all the time. A lot of these games they do not own. A lot of these games they I ain't gonna say a lot, but a good bit of these games they don't even download. They just play it on their phone. And if it's a good game, if it's captivating and people feeling, you know, immersed in playing it, they will play it. So, you just got to understand, the bar is very low. And this is the thing about gaming. People will buy almost anything. So the bar is really low to make something that's profitable and make something that's fun. People try to go outside the box and do things different just to be different, and they end up like Saints Row, they end up like Concord, they end up like all these other games that aren't really, making a profit, that probably should have made a profit. So that's something you just have to think about at the end of the day. Is like, man, like, what are these companies doing? Why are you trying to reinvent the wheel? Why are you trying to, make something that's against what's tried and true? Stop doing that. Just make a good game and people will like it. Shout out to Truant Pixel. Rogue Flight is an excellent game, and we need more games like that. And I love it. I'll be probably streaming that again sometime this week to play the new game plus. And that's the type of games that we need, not necessarily in that particular format, but the game has to follow that, it needs to follow that, form. I guess you could say they follow the format how they built it, not necessarily the format how the game is. It doesn't have to be an arcade shooter or anything. It just needs to be a game that you can be immersed in, have fun with a good story, good mechanics, good gameplay, and you'll be fine. I just don't understand how people can't, realize that. And some of these developers and CEOs, and they so blinded by the dollar sign, they end up losing the dollar sign. It's crazy. I'm gonna get up out of here. Y'all enjoy yourselves. I'll see y'all on the next one, and hopefully we'll be having more content later on in the week. All right, y'all, I'm out. Peace.